On West Michigan Week, we'll discuss Michigan's upcoming Republican presidential primary. It's voting on Tuesday, a significant impact. Our guest tonight, Saul Anuzis, chairman of the Michigan Republican Party. Hello, I'm Peter Ross. Thanks for joining us on West Michigan Week as we head towards Michigan's presidential primary, which is Tuesday. We're very happy to have as our guest tonight Saul Anuzis, chairman of the Michigan Republican Party. Saul, welcome.
Glad to be with you.
On our panel, we have Carrie Polano from the Grand Rapids Business Journal and Fred Martino from WGVU News. Just the other day, Mitt Romney was in this building above us holding one of his town hall meetings. Tonight, he is back in Hudsonville. John McCain in Grand Rapids this week. Michigan ground zero in the Republican presidential nomination following New Hampshire and Iowa. And Saul, you have to feel good about this.
Absolutely. This turned out better than we expected. We have had the presidential candidates crisscrossing the state for the last year and a half. We have literally raised millions of dollars with those candidates being there helping our local parties. Their campaign organizations have helped build our party in the sense of bringing out new volunteers and bringing new people to the process. And at the same time, these people are learning about Michigan, what's unique about the issues affecting Michigan, and building political relationships with political leaders in this state. So long term, I mean, even from a nonpartisan standpoint, this has been great for the state of Michigan.
Well, and as chairman, you are not taking sides, presumably in the race, obviously
right.
rather, in what is still a fairly crowded Republican race. Certainly beyond the Michigan vote, on Tuesday, we have the important contests that loom in Nevada and South Carolina. But as you know, the Democratic side of the equation Tuesday is sort of a non-event. Is that a frustrating thing to you?
Well, it's frustrating that all the candidates aren't participating, but it's actually turned into quite an event, although it's pretty much under the table. You have Senator Clinton as the lead candidate on the ballot, with Barack Obama and John Edwards taking their names off the ballot, but they are openly and aggressively encouraging people to vote uncommitted on the Democrat side. You could just imagine the embarrassment that Senator Clinton may run into if she were to lose to uncommitted in Michigan, or have a very poor showing and barely pull out a victory in Michigan. So the Clinton people are working very hard to make sure that they get their votes and that they have the numbers they need. And the Barack Obama and Edwards people, including the Democratic Party, are encouraging people to go out and vote, including uncommitted, which could turn this into a very interesting side story on Tuesday.
Doesn't it create more of a sense of glee on your part? And the Democrats are coming off of this being hurt quite a bit on a national stage compared to the Republicans, as you just alluded to. Isn't that kind of a feather in your cap, and once you try to play that up in the long run?
Absolutely. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for us. Michigan is a swing state. We have about 30% self-identified Republicans, 34 to 36% self-identified Democrats, and the rest of the people are independent. In order for Republicans or Democrats to win in Michigan, we have to win with independent voters. So when the Republican candidates are coming to Michigan, talking to the citizens of Michigan, being asked questions, these independents are getting to know who the Republican candidates are. And ultimately, when the time comes to make a decision, and they haven't met the Democrats, and they know the Republicans have been here talking about Michigan issues, talking about and getting to know the people in the state of Michigan, I think it might give us a competitive advantage to make it even closer and a better shot for us Republicans next year, or this year now. Time flies when you're having fun.
Right. Well, the Republican field, Romney, Huckabee, Giuliani, Fred Thompson, John McCain, and Ron Paul, although we can all agree he's really a libertarian.
And Duncan Hunter, our last one.
And Duncan Hunter. Can we give our viewers a quick primer on where they stand? Can you shade them? Are they all the same version of a Republican flavor, if you will, or are they very nuanced differences?
I think there are nuanced differences. There are some bigger differences. I think it wouldn't be fair for me to basically lay out the differences of them. But if you take a look at what's happening in this state, in Michigan in particular, I mean, I think that Michigan has been competing between Romney and McCain here for almost a year and a half. Those are the two leading campaigns in Michigan. Rudy Giuliani had come in for a little while and really jumped up in the polls and actually took the lead in the polls for a little while, but hasn't been back to Michigan, and I think he will suffer for that long term. I think it was a mistake on his part. I think he would have been very credible and a player. But I think we're going to get down to tomorrow, really probably a race between Rudy Giuliani between John McCain and Mitt Romney, and Mike Huckabee being a serious third place challenge. and it will be very interesting. You have, look, you know, Huckabee came out with a surprise victory in Iowa. The following weekend, Mitt Romney won in Wyoming, and now McCain won in New Hampshire. This is probably the first time that we've come out of those early states with no front runner and nobody really leading. Now you can argue whether, you know, McCain's the guy to beat because he won Iowa last, or you can argue that Romney's the guy to beat because he now has the most delegates, given the delegate count of the 3 states. And Giuliani is kind of holding his fire and waiting for Super Tuesday.
And Fred Thompson, where is he?
And Fred Thompson's down in South Carolina making kind of his last stand and maybe his first stand of whether or not he'd be a credible alternative candidate.
What does research tell you, Saul, about which one of those candidates would be strongest in a November general election?
I think that each of those candidates have their own strengths and weaknesses with respects to the candidates on the Democrat side that might come out. I think that each of them would probably do very well against either Barack Obama or Senator Clinton, and I think one of those two will be the Democrat nominees. And so, you know, depending on the geography, depending on how the race evolves over the next 6 months, I think whether it's John McCain, Mitt Romney, Mike Huckabee, or Fred Thompson, I think all 4 of those candidates could very easily defeat the Democrats.
Some analysts say that John McCain is the best hope for the GOP because the Democratic nominee, whoever that is, will have less foreign policy experience, along with the fact, of course, that John McCain has a military background. How do you assess those opinions from some analysts?
Oh, in general, I agree. I think that John McCain would be a very strong candidate because of his foreign affairs, you know, experience. But at the same time, you know, I mean, Mike Huckabee's kind of appealing to the, you know, kind of to the populist vote, to the old Reagan Republican. You've got Mitt Romney with his business background and his economic background, talking about jobs in Michigan. I mean, that's a big issue. So, again, each of them have their strengths, and each of them have the areas that we would highlight if they were our nominees. And I think regardless of which one of the 4 actually emerge, we will do very well against, you know, Hillary Clinton, who has been just about everywhere on the table on any issue at any given time, and Barack Obama, who is probably one of the most inexperienced people ever to run for President of the United States.
With the economy the way it is in Michigan, has it surprised you that the candidates are not just focusing on the economy, that they're spending a lot of time in campaign commercials focusing on, for lack of a better word, values?
Well, look, I think you have to take a look at the campaigns in general. When you look at a nationwide campaign, Michigan's very unique. We're in a single state recession. We're the only state in the country that has lost jobs 6 years in a row. On any given month, we are number 2 or number 3 in foreclosure rates. You know, we're the only one of 2 states that has more U-Hauls going out than coming in the country. I mean, this is unique to the rest of the country that has, you know, economic growth, the job growth, and everything else. So they have to appeal to the general electorate on the Republican side, and our social conservatives, our cultural conservatives, the economic conservatives, and foreign affairs conservatives really make up the 4 stools of the Republican Party. And so therefore I think that it's a very natural thing not to just be talking about economics. I think they will stress jobs and economics much more here in Michigan, but nationwide they got to talk about all those issues.
Touching on the Michigan primary again, are you concerned at all about the crossover potential from Democrats that are frustrated with their side of things, and just to muddy up the bottom tier of the Republican side of the whole ledger? Is that something that you think might become a factor?
I doubt it, for 2 reasons. One is the Democrats do have a race. I mean, Senator Clinton is the only leading candidate on the ballot. The Barack Obama and John Edwards people are very aggressively and very openly encouraging their people to vote uncommitted. You can imagine the embarrassment it would be for Senator Clinton to lose to uncommitted in Michigan, or to have a very slight victory over uncommitted in Michigan. So I think you're going to see Senator Clinton's machine working as hard as they can to make sure that the senator has a positive and a big win here in Michigan, especially since she's running against uncommitted and Dennis Kucinich. So the pressure is very high on her to perform. And so I mean, are there going to be some people who might want to come over? Maybe. But the second reason is that this is a semi-closed primary based on the Democratic national rules that required us to basically take a Republican or Democrat ballot. Most people who walk into a poll will pick the ballot they feel most comfortable with. Independents might go to either one. Some will cross over, but you know, we haven't seen that in a long time, and especially when both parties are on the same day, the same time.